Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Do you ever get the feeling that the people around your table really don't want to meet? If so, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about that today here on the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, we spent a week last week talking about having great meetings, but there's this sense in some organizations that people don't feel like those meetings are important. And we had this question. I thought it was a great question. Our team doesn't want to meet. What do I do as the leader if that's the case? And so,
yeah, that's more than a sense that people don't want to meet.
Yeah, that somebody knows.
People have declared
that
they don't want to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you do with that?
What do you do with that? Well, I would say start by maybe a little bit of looking in the mirror and asking yourself some of that stuff we talked about. Maybe you've been having bad meetings, and there's a good chance that it's not people are against meetings. It's the kind of meetings we've been having. And so maybe you really do need to go back and listen to some of those episodes and go, okay, am I really thinking about, do we have the right people in the room? Do we have problems that are being solved? Are we documenting action items and holding people accountable? And
right.
So many times it's just some of those basics that we talked about that happen here. But if we've got a group of people that don't really want to meet, and I'm the leader, I've got to ask myself maybe why. That's where I would start. And so I don't know if you want to build on that or not, but I think this is a good. I mean that question, like what's not just what's the problem, but why is this problem? What's going on here?
Yeah, I like starting there. And you referenced one potential why is that the meetings aren't adding value. And that frustrates people, busy people. A lot of people are overtaxed and overworked.
Their capacity squeezed.
And sometimes it's not that you've had bad meetings. Let's say this one scenario is you're starting with a new group, a new team. Well, all of their experiences of the past were bad. So you've got that baggage that people are bringing. So
right.
you got to figure out why. Maybe back to people being overworked, they don't think they physically have time to devote time to a meeting. In their heart and mind, that looks like time away from their primary task. They don't see that as an enabler. So I think you've got to do some detective work so that you can attack the real root causes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that shows up too from time to time is what I'll call monotony, or I've called before the mundane middle. You get in the middle of a season, if you're leading a sports team, you get in the middle of a year at work, and you just week after week after week, and you're grinding and you're doing great. Sometimes having a different routine for a week for your meeting can be an offsite. Go have some fun. We talked about a couple of weeks ago. Go serve together. Some things. I remember years ago, I was coaching a soccer team, a high school soccer team, guys team, and we came down to the end of the season. We had a championship game going on, and we had this big practice that was coming up before it. And I just had this sense as a leader, we've been grinding really hard here, and so we came to practice, and I didn't even bring the soccer balls to practice. I had a football in my hand, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We're playing touch football today," and we literally played touch football the day before the championship game, and then we went out. It just relaxed everybody. It took down all the expectation level. We had so much fun, and went out the next day and won the championship. And it was just like, it was that as a leader, you've got to know, like, have you been pushing your team too hard? Have you been maybe you need to push them harder. There's times where people are not engaged in the meeting, and they don't like them because they don't feel like we're doing anything. We don't get pushed enough. And so you got to have this intuitive, as a leader, you got to have some intuition sometimes that plays a part in this as well. But it goes back to that diagnostic, like what's really going on. And if as a leader you're committed to solving it, I think you got a great chance to get everybody back on track. And because meetings are so important, as we talked about.
Yeah. A couple of other things to consider. Maybe you need to give the people on the team more responsibility in and for the meetings, because if you're not careful, it becomes what some would call a staff meeting, where everyone comes and listens to the leader talk. Yeah. It's like, well, no, maybe that's not the best answer, at least not in every circumstance. But there are times when the leader needs to talk and people need to listen, but let's let the team help identify the problems we're going to solve. Yeah. Let's let the team facilitate some learning and development within the context of the meeting. That's the other thing we didn't talk about the other day. What do you do with that other time that's not performance management or community building?
That's good.
It's learning and development in a team setting. Well, let members of the team own that and bring their knowledge and expertise to the team. Give them more ownership. Help push up their engagement. There are a lot of things you can do. But if you're committed, you reference this, if you're committed to the strategy and the structure, I mean, teams is a structural artifact, right? And the leader says, hey, we're going to build a high-performance team, then you actually need to stay the course. We talked about this on a couple of episodes, and you've got to say, no, this is what we're going to do. And people who don't want to be on a team, doesn't mean they're bad people. There are people who are not team people.
Right, that's right.
And you need
great individual contributors.
You need to help them with that. I have had a situation where a member of my leadership team ended up not being on my leadership team because he said publicly, I don't want to be part of this team. Well, he kind of calls your hand at that point. It's like, so do we change our strategy because somebody doesn't want to be on this team? Or do we say, great, you don't have to be on this team? And so that was the path that we took in that particular situation.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so for the leader who's listening, and we would say, where's the place to start? Would it be that diagnostic? Yeah, you would say that's the first thing, right? I think I would agree.
And including what you said earlier, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And if you have a track record of meetings, do an honest assessment. Have they been value added? Have they been worth the energy that you've asked the team to invest? And then let me give you one more. I've done this with a team. Assuming that you're doing the right things, but maybe you're caught in that mundane middle, I would encourage you to capture the decisions that the team has made and the outcomes that the team has generated. And I've actually made lists of those before for people to look and go, wow, we didn't realize.
We did all that.
Look at what we've actually done in the last 6 months, last year, last 5 years as a team.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need to be reminded of their wins.
That's so good.
And so I've actually done that for some teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my final word today would be, if you're a leader and you're listening, is you're responsible for getting better at leading your meetings. And so you want to create an environment where it's like you said a few weeks ago, or a few episodes ago, that you wanted to create a meeting where everybody said, this is the best thing that we're a part of. I think that's possible if we make that decision and we get these basics right. But if we don't even have the basics down, that's a place to start. But even if you have the basics, you've been doing them for a long time, you may need to level that up. And so I think if you're going to lead a bunch of meetings, get better at leading meetings. And you want everybody to go, this is the best part of our day, is to get to come to one of your meetings. And I think that really can happen, but it'll only happen if you make that decision.
Let me say something about getting better at your meetings. I think if you're looking for one more sports metaphor, that like in golf, you drive for show, you putt for dough. Mm-hmm. Meetings are the short game for the leader.
Yeah, that's so good.
You've still got to stand on the stage and cast a vision. That's like hitting a long drive.
Yeah.
But you got to chip and putt. You got to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah.
That's meetings.
That's where you're meeting.
So you got to get. So the reason I mention that is you talking about getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to hang around with just a few professional golfers. They work a whole lot more on their short game than they do their tee shots.
Yeah.
Because that's when you score.
Yeah. So
you just got to keep getting better and better.
Yeah.
Every time you shave off a stroke, you're enhancing performance.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and let's play that golf thing. Over 4 rounds, that's 4 strokes. I mean, it's exponential what can happen in your meetings. You can coach and you can train and you can develop and you can hold accountable and you can cast vision and strategy. We can make a list 100 deep of things that happen. We need to be getting better at that. This is our huge opportunity.
That's how you can tell if a leader can lead. Go to their meeting.
That's good. I love that short game thing. All right, so remember, the best leaders lead every day. Come back tomorrow. We're going to give you another question to help you build a high-performance team.